Welcome to this week's episode of Classroom Horror Stories. Today we're diving into all things administration. So grab something cuddly, some snacks, and let's get into it. While I was filling out IEP paperwork in our cumulative files room, the principal starts chatting with me and suddenly asks if I'm single. I tell her I've been in a happy relationship for a little over a year. She says, "That's too bad. You and my son would make a great couple," and then proceeds to keep talking him up. A matchmaking principal, we love that. At the time, I was a regular substitute at school. The lead principal saw me in the hallway and asked me to step into an office to talk to him. I was floored. The school was so big, I didn't even think he knew I existed. I'm walking in thinking he's going to tell me I'm doing a great job because the assistant principals thought so. He closes the door to the office and starts yelling at me. I felt like a deer caught in the headlights. I was in such shock that every word he said sounded like the Charlie Brown teacher. One of the APs walked in and noticed the look on my face. She walked over and said, "Not her." The lead principal said, "Oh," and walked away. That was 15 years ago, and I still have no idea what was going on or what he was talking about. No apology is wild. That's wild. During an evaluation in my 26-year teaching, my first-year principal, who had never been a classroom teacher, gave me the lowest scores of my career. At our post-conference, he said, "If you would just stick to the script, you'd be a really good teacher." I told her that I already was a really good teacher and left her office without signing the paperwork. See, what's happening is so many different curriculums are coming out, and these admin and higher ups want these teachers to stick to the script, but that's not what makes teachers good teachers. While I was working as a paraprofessional, my own children were also attending the school I worked for. There were some issues my son was having in the classroom, so the principal called me on the phone to discuss what happened while I was literally upstairs working in my kindergarten class. She even introduced herself as the principal of my son's school on the phone call, like she didn't remember that I was an employee in her own building. I couldn't believe it. How do you mess that up? My principal, after having to chase a runner student, told me, "I get paid too much to chase students." Pardon? That would qualify you to chase students, I would think. I worked at an alternative school and we had a terrible start one morning. Several fights, they came pouring off the bus, 2 staff members injured, and the electric went out. My principal called me into her office, grabbed both my hands, and told me she had heard I had broken a mirror that morning. It was a joke I had made with a coworker, and this was the reason all these bad things were happening, and we needed to pray the devil away. Then she proceeded to start a very lengthy and earnest prayer to Jesus to cast the devil out of me. I wish I was making this up. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I just let her do it while I was thinking, so none of those things happened because we have a lunatic for a boss? Last day before Christmas break, principal calls my whole 7th grade team for a meeting at the end of the day. She said, "Not that you need to, but I want to know why none of you wished me a Merry Christmas today or gave me a present." The audacity. I had a policy in my room that if you have to go to the bathroom, bring me your pass and I will sign it. If it's an emergency, just leave. Our assistant principal insisted every student had a pass, no matter what. I had a trumpet player who looked up at me and covered his mouth before running out of the room. A few seconds later, Mr. Assistant Principal brought him back and proceeded to yell at both of us because the student did not have a pass. I tried to explain that it was an emergency. Trumpet player puked all over Mr. Assistant Principal as he was telling me that there were no emergencies that couldn't wait for a pass. I asked him if he was sure about that as he turned to leave the room with puke covering him from head to toe. This was the only time in the 32 years in that band room and orchestra room that I had a student throw up in the room. I may have bought the student a thank you gift for puking on the assistant principal. That is diabolical. I was told to train my body so I wouldn't have to pump during school hours. Here's another one, same vein. My superintendent walked in on me twice while pumping behind a locked door. So that means this person would have had to get out their keys and unlock it to come in. Read the room. I had just finished pumping during my lunch and left my classroom to go fill my water bottle. I had on a nice tank top, but my bra strap had slipped down my arm. The principal stopped me in the hallway with a student who needed to apologize for her behavior in class earlier, so we chatted and I went on my way. I later got an email asking me to see her at the end of the day. She thought my bra strap falling down was an inappropriate way for me to look while talking with a student. She lectured me on how we need to be a professional example to our students. I explained how I just finished pumping and was on my lunch break. I am actually very aware of what I dress like to be appropriate. I always wear a sweater in front of the kids while teaching. My principal's contact lens fell out during a grade level meeting. She licked it the entire meeting. What? Also, she used to hide in the bushes to see who left early. She also used to dig through the trash to see who was throwing away her memos. What? A few years ago, I was on my lunch break at school and I get a call on my personal cell phone from my principal. Conversation went as follows. Me. Hello, my name is blank and I am a principal at blank. I came across your resume and I'm very interested in interviewing you for an open position at my school. Hey blank, I already work for you. I am on my lunch break, just down the hall from your office. Oh, so sorry, must have gotten you confused with someone else. Do you need me to stop by your office? No, that won't be necessary. Okay, I'm going to finish my lunch now before I pick up the kids. It was a month into school of my second year there. This principal did this to 2 other employees that already worked at the school. How do you not know your staff? I was written up for inappropriate and unprofessional attire for wearing an I Love Science shirt I got at the National Science Teachers Association conference they paid me to go to. The report stated I wore inflammatory and politically charged apparel that didn't fit my job description. This was 2020 and science was not in vogue at the time, I guess. At recess, my administrator went to a side door and kidnapped one of my students. She told her to go hide in a classroom. Then she proceeded to come out our wing door and ask me where the child was, knowing full well she had her hiding in another classroom. Are you okay, ma'am? My principal told me to get on it when I said I didn't have kids. Okay. My principal would open her door, turn off her light, hide under her desk, and eavesdrop on teachers eating lunch in the lounge together. How did they figure that out? And who was the person who walked in and found her hunched under a desk in the dark? My vice principal shopped at Victoria's Secret for a birthday gift for me. Delivered the iconic pink box to my classroom during class. I used to work in childcare and we got told all the time to do gym training sessions after work at least once a week because the owner was concerned about the waistline of some of the staff. That sounds like Michael Scott type behavior. My principal never gave me a mentor for my first year, and on the last day of school, she made me forge paperwork saying she did give me one. My first year was my last year because of this. You need a mentor as a first-year teacher. I'm not a teacher. I was a middle school secretary. Once my crazy principal threatened to call HR to find out who didn't flush after using the staff bathroom. It must have been a big turd. My principal praised me in a PLC meeting for my students having the highest gains in their end of year testing than the other teachers. Then 30 minutes before we were to leave for summer on the last teacher workday, I happened to run into my principal and she told me she was making me change grade levels because I had too many office referrals during the year. They were for the same 3 students who never got corrected when sent to the office. How about that? This was after she had talked to all the teachers moving classrooms and all the other teachers had already moved their things into their new rooms. When I asked her what if I didn't want to switch grade levels, she laughed and told me I could quit. So I did. She had spent the last 2 years making my life miserable and not having her teachers' backs, telling us to use YouTube if we had teaching questions, reprimanding individuals during staff meetings, etc. Good for you. I had an assistant principal come in and do an observation in my classroom. He later called me down to his office to read it over and sign it. It was pretty much positive, but at the bottom he had handwritten a negative comment about something long time ago. Can't even remember what it was right now. Anyway, I told him I was not going to sign it because that wasn't true and asked why he would write that down there. He said that he usually tries to find something negative to write. He didn't like to give a 100% positive review. I refused to sign it until he removed it, which he did. That happens. So many admin go in for observations and they're told from their higher ups, find something to critique. And so they're just having to pull stuff out of their nether regions. Last year, I had an administrator that hated me right off the bat, claimed I was not a good teacher. Mind you, I'm actually a very good teacher. I'm very competent at my difficult job of teaching high-needs special education students. I met with a parent at the beginning of the year to tell them their student had met all of their goals 9 months early. Those that aren't familiar, IEP goals are supposed to be completed within a year. This parent was very happy with me and was saying how much their kid loves coming to school and how happy they are with me. I emailed my boss to let her know that we had this meeting and how happy the parents were with me. She didn't email me back anything. And then when I met with her about my evaluation, I asked her if she had gotten my email. She said, and I quote, "Yes, I got your email. Sometimes it's nice to toot your own horn." That's it. Okay. I used to teach at a classical education charter school where we introduced Greek and Latin roots in 5th grade. I was called into the principal's office to discuss my pronunciation of the word Latin and was told that I sound too country and uneducated because I don't articulate the T. Our school was literally in the middle of the country between 2 towns. Latin. Had an observation the day I returned from maternity leave. My daughter was born in August before school started, so I had never met the kids, let alone knew their names. I taught kindergarten. I emailed my administrator to ask for a meeting or a call. He proceeded to call my husband, who does not work for the school. He opens with, "Your wife seems upset." To my husband's credit, his response was, "Why are you calling me? Call her." What? Last one. Man. I went to the faculty restroom during passing period and heard my entire admin team bad-mouthing me loudly. Not my teaching, not my outfit, me. I didn't have to move closer. Their voices traveled well into the bathroom through the vents. When school was out, I went to the one admin that seemed the most approachable and simply said, "Hey, if there's ever anything you need to tell me, please know that I'm open to an honest conversation," because voices carry down into the faculty bathroom. I was written up for eavesdropping. They never apologized. That takes the cake. I have nothing to say after that one. Are you kidding me? Absolutely unbelievable. Well, on that note, thank you so much for hanging out with me during this episode of Classroom Horror Stories. We'll see you back here next Tuesday, same time, same place.